want to start?
Crawford says hasn't scheduled a rehab assignment yet, but it still sounds like maybe something that's on the table. What are your kind of thoughts with where he is?
Yeah, and I think he's a couple of days away, but I also think he's prepared to go out and play a couple of games. And once we get to that space where he can get in the batter's box and feel good about going out on a rehab assignment and seeing how he bounces back, we'll be ready to have him start playing again. So all the same things that we've been talking about apply at this point, which is we want him to be the healthiest and most athletic version of Craw he can possibly be without feeling compromised in any way with his knee.
You have Chuck against the lefty, albeit one pretty neutral splits. Was
Yeah.
What led to that? Or?
Full disclosure, I had Gons in the lineup. He had a little back tightness. Took Gons out of there. He should be available to come off the bench. Told Jocker excited about having him get an opportunity to face a lefty and start and likely play most of the game.
Littell says he's starting a rehab assignment tomorrow.
Yeah.
About the prospect of having him back soon, the guy who contributed a lot last year.
No, I think he's bouncing back well at this point. His body's feeling good, and he's going to probably pitch an inning for us in San Jose tomorrow. Not set in stone yet, but that's where we're leaning. And from there, we'll evaluate him, and if he's ready to be activated, a few days later, that's totally fine. If he needs another outing, that's totally fine.
When making your lineup, you've been thinking more about defense than you were last year. Have you found yourself thinking more about it even more as the season progresses, compared to maybe a week or 2 weeks or a month ago?
I think so. I mean, we have a pretty robust sample now. I'm talking about 3-4 months of baseball, and within that baseball, we just haven't played good. That 3-4 months, we just haven't played good defense. So I think one of the ways we can get better quickly is by catching the ball more frequently, making better decisions once we have the baseball in our hand. And this definitely doesn't fall on any one individual. We have across the board a lot of areas where we can improve with our range, we can improve with the way we're handling the baseball, we can improve with the decisions that we're making once we have the baseball in our hand. So it's certainly something that we're thinking about and trying our best when we have the ability to make upgrades in the game to put a better defense on the field. And there are going to be times when we're going to be limited in our ability to do that. There's going to be times when we're able to do that, and we're going to pull all the possible strings if we can.
Over the years, I've seen managers in a similar situation, and coaching staffs, to create like mid-season mini camps, like maybe 2 or 3 days a week instead of batting practice. Some days, just go out there and have like a spring, PFPs and things like that. Is that something that you have done or would consider doing?
Yeah. Well, we always consider anything. There's nothing off the table when it comes to making improvements and making adjustments. But we have had some PFPs out there in left field, some versions of PFPs that include conditioning as well. As far as a mini camp goes, so I mean, look, like you see it every day. I'll let you guys evaluate the work that we do. It's not, it doesn't have to be in like a 3-day stretch where it's called a mini camp for it to be really effective and targeted practice. So kind of easy for me to sit here and say I think we practice really well and our process is really tight. But you guys see it every day, so it's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was going to ask you about, and this is just because I haven't been around the team.
Yeah, sure.
Are we seeing Ron Otis on the field more with a bat and a glove and a uniform than you might have seen earlier in the season because of the situation?
No, I mean, obviously you can check in with the rest of the crew that has been here, but he's been pretty consistently out here since the beginning of the season.
Costello was saying he feels like he's moving better now.
Yeah.
This time off the IL.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
How does that kind of translate when he's in the field?
Well, you see it in his work because you don't see as many opportunities in game, but you definitely see it when he moves from first base to second base to third base and turns double plays and does Kai's pre-game drills with the machines and working on his exchanges and his picks at first base. So how would I characterize it? It's just like he did. He's moving well.
Does this mean that we'll continue to see more of him in the field than maybe we did earlier when he first game off yet.
Yeah, no, I think it's reasonable to assume that he's going to see more time on the dirt than he did prior. Obviously, I think he's seen the most games at DH of anybody on our roster. So we know that we're gonna need him to play on the dirt so that we can use that DH spot to get some guys off their feet. I don't think it's any secret that we haven't had our infield defense together for very many games this year. I would take that a step further and say that the core pieces of our defense, the Belt, Crawford, Longoria group that we kind of expected to be out there most games this season, individually haven't been on the field quite as much, and collectively have rarely been on the field. So and what that does, as we've talked about quite a bit, is it moves others into everyday action, and some days it moves others into positions that they haven't developed over the course of their careers to play. I think the third layer of that is you have to try. So you could look at it one of two ways. One is you're put in a position where you're trying new players at those positions, and then the other way to look at it is it's an opportunity for those players to get experience and develop. This has been an incredible opportunity for VR, and I'm really glad that he's gotten this exposure. It's a really important piece of our future.
Gabe, a 7-game losing streak is never good, but is it particularly more tense because it's happening right now, so close to the trade deadline? Does that add a layer of psychological stress for some players or just for the club in general?
No, it's a good point. So anytime you're losing 7 games in a row, you go on a road and you have a tough road trip, it's going to be stressful and it's going to be taxing, but it's also the best time to remind players that this game is meant to be played loose and relaxed. It's meant to be, we're going to work our asses off. We're going to continue to improve our processes and our practices all the time. But then once the game starts, we have to play like, you're playing wiffle ball in the backyard, or you're playing pickup basketball, and you have to smile on the baseball field and enjoy it. And that gives you your best chance to have success. We all know that tense muscles in athletic competition just makes you a little bit slower, makes you make worse decisions. And the flip side of that is also true. Kind of loose and relaxed energy in the batter's box, on the mound, on the bases, in the outfield, on defense, allows you to fire quicker and make better decisions. And it's not just true in athletic competition. I think it's true in generally speaking in a lot of the things that we do. That like really tense, tight. It's not good in baseball. So, good reminder. We need to stay the course, and we need to, prepare our asses off. And then when the game starts, we need to be loose and enjoy this.
Has he not been entirely healthy?
Yes. I mean, same issues when he came back from his rehab assignment. Like, some of that stuff never goes away. But I think what you're asking is, like, relatively speaking, are there any new injuries? Is there anything that you need to be aware of? Sort of thing. There's nothing notable there.
Gabe, talking about the kind of the playing with loose kind of energy, do you see anything sort of like team chemistry, kind of like activities almost mid-season, kind of keep the group together? You have called up some guys to kind of like make everyone mesh and kind of collaborate in like a good team sense. Do you see any activities?
So go to a bar and tie one on as a group. Is that what you're expecting?
Some more PG version of that, yeah.
That's PG. So like go to the movies and eat popcorn and drink
Or the
Coke.
Papa Shot, you got that in the new edition, I think.
Look, we had our little home run derby thing that we did that Longo put together. I thought that was a great idea. Those sort of activities, I know that they don't always sit well because like work harder, grind more, do more, right? Like, and I respect that side of it too. I think it's important to, like I said, work your ass off, and then when the game comes, like, be loose. But I also think there's plenty of ways that players can blow off steam. We can blow off steam as a group, and we've done some of those. And sometimes they're successful right away. Sometimes it takes a little while for the trees to bear fruit. But it should be, like, stuff like that should be a consistent part of our practice, whether that be, like, pop a shot, having a glass of wine after the game with a group of teammates, a team party, a home run derby, like all of those things have to be parts of the routine. Yeah, those are good parts of a baseball team and a good way to build chemistry.
Thank you.
Sure, you'll notice it tonight. Craig Abernaz is going to be in the dugout, and JP Martinez is going to be in the bullpen. So, a couple of reasons this is important. Number one, we've noticed and we've seen a real opportunity for Albie to work more hands-on and directly with our catchers, particularly one of our young, developing, important catchers. Albie has a long history of helping catchers improve. Sometimes we've found that he's wanted to call the dugout because of some of the things that he's seeing or is expecting, and we just haven't had that touch point, and we feel like it's a good opportunity to try that. And then the flip side of that is JP has not had as much exposure to our bullpen and our pitchers down there as we would have liked. Part of the reason prior to the season, Albie was not like maybe a third base coach or in the dugout more is because I felt it was critical to maintain the continuity from last year. He did such a nice job with our bullpen out there last year, and so, but he belongs in the dugout too. Like he can do anything we need him to do in the dugout, and he has that access point to Joey and to Austin and to any catchers that are in our dugout going forward. So we see the benefits as development for Joe and for Austin to some degree or another, and then JP's ability to touch the pitchers more consistently down in the bullpen. I feel like we can make this a pretty seamless transition. Talk to some players about it and had lots of conversation with our staff before making this decision, and I think it has a chance to help us. We all thought it made sense right now. Talked about it, and to just give you something here, it started in a conversation that I was having with Bales, and we discussed it a little bit and felt like we consider Albie as a really core part of our pitching group, and JP a core part of our bullpen as well, and so we discussed it as like sort of a brainstorming sesh, and it turned into something that we all thought made sense.
I'm sorry, you and who?
Bales. Okay. Yeah, Andrew Bailey.
Is there a time frame for that, Gabe? Week, month, rest of the year for that?
It's going to be a going forward thing, but of course we'll, as part of our overall philosophy in the clubhouse, trial and error is part of that. Things don't necessarily have to be perfect for you to take a step, and you don't have to see the whole staircase, right? You step right in front of us, and what I can assure you is that it's well thought through. It's not something that popped up for us yesterday on the heels of our streak. I've been thinking about it for a really long time. We even talked about it in the off season. So it's not new. It's not reacting to anything that we've seen, but we see it as appropriate timing and a way to try something new.
So is it a little bit of a